Well, hello, and here we are again with another video in my messy garage. But I wanted to do one last final documentation video on this CEI King Derby, also known as, I think the game was written by Tazmi in Japan in 1981, 80 or 81, and then CEI brought it into the United States as a slot machine, and there are not very many of them, and this one's had a problem for several years, and I've been working on it off and on, and finally within the last couple of days came to the realization that I have a problem with the power supply. And the power supply, you'll have to forgive me because I'm powering the machine right now with a PC power supply and a couple of other power supplies that I rigged together, benchtop and whatnot. But down in the back of the machine is a huge, actually, I'm gonna unharness the camera and I'll show for documentation purposes. Okay, so yes, I'm filming in portrait, which YouTube just loves. Let me get the light level down. Okay, so behind the hopper, it's probably one of the largest power supplies ever created for a slot machine. I had it out one time several years ago. I was suspicious of it, and I opened it up and I tested a few of the giant capacitors in it, and they seemed okay. And I put it back together, and the machine actually ran semi-reliably for a year or two. And ultimately its problem is the game just won't boot. And I always thought it was a problem on the board, but as it turns out, I now believe that the problem is it is the power supply. The 12-volt line measures about 16 volts, and the 24-volt line measures about 30. I don't know that the machine cares about the 24-volt line, but the 12-volt line it certainly might. The 5-volt line is good. The computer's actually running on the 5-volt line right now. But anyway, this giant power supply weighs, I think, about 40 or 45 pounds. I'll have to measure it this time when it's out. I think it's 40 or 45 pounds. It is a giant. I don't know if you can see how far it covers the whole back of the machine, all the way back to where the 5-volt rail, that's just the 5-volt rail right there. Four ground wires and 4 hot wires, and then there's 12 and 24 volt. Those are the ones that I've bypassed with PC power supplies. The hopper is also not running today, and I don't know what the cause of that is. Maybe again something going on in the power supply. So anyway, that whole unit has to come out, and in order to do that, there's a bunch of screws down here, and it has to come off of its rail, and the coin in, coin out counter assembly has to come out, and the coin management chute has to come out. All this stuff, all this railing on the front has to come out. Well, maybe I can get away without taking that off in order to get that thing to slide out. It's a giant. So I wanted to document today a few things about this machine before I take it apart, because it could be a while, and if something goes terribly bad, I don't know, I may not ever get it running again. So I wanted to just document the machine a little bit, and there's the back of the LED power supply. I converted mine to an LCD monitor, not by choice. Anybody that knows me knows that I would have done anything to get the CRT going, but unfortunately it got necked in transport. The monitor was sitting in its rail, and when it got transported, it slid back, hit the back of the case, and broke the monitor. So it's it's a rare RGB monitor, and you can't get the tube. I've never found one, and so I had to replace it with this. I'm always on a mission to find that. Okay, and up here is the boards. There's a stack of 2 boards that run the top one is the computer board, and the bottom one is video. And then this very top one, which is like a quarter board, that's the sound board. And they slide into this tray and have 2 connectors at the very front that it slides into, like a lot of games do, but this one slides in horizontally, and in order to work on it, I had to make all of these ribbon cables, because in order to troubleshoot it, I had to be able to power it, so I made these extension cables that extended the, I guess I can't remember what you call those the gold connectors, the edge connectors, thank you. The edge connectors, there's my extensions, so I could work on the board out on the machine, and after working on it for several hours out of the machine, I started realizing I don't know that there's a problem with the board, and that's when I decided to go ahead and power it with an external power supply. So I'm going to put it back together real quickly here, and I'll be back in a flash, and then we'll play a couple games before I take it apart. Okay, we're back. If you know me at all, I like machines that are unique, which also means that the machines are sometimes rare, which then equates to very little or no tech support. I've only found one other instance of this machine running anywhere. Somebody made a video of it. I don't even know that it's on YouTube. It might be in another video platform somewhere. Somebody made a video of it playing, and then there's somebody else that found one overseas that they actually have in an overseas casino that you can still play. But this is the only instance of one that I've ever seen in person. So you can bet an insane number of coins when you're playing this game. You can bet up to 10 credits per horse. So there are 6 horses. So I could, if I wanted to, I could bet 10 on horse number 1, and then 10 on horse number 2. I'm just doing 2. I'm going to bet 2 on every horse, so we know we'll win at least 4 or 6 or 10, most likely. Obviously, the horses that are 100 to 1 and 10 to 1 and 30 to 1 are least likely based. Thank you for that. That's the attract mode kicking in. Then the horses set off, go around the track. Oh, we want a whole 4 credits. We have 23 credits left. Number 6 pulls to the front, though. Yep. And at any point on this game, you can add more quarters. Even in the middle of placing your bets. Okay, we won 15 credits. You may recognize these graphics. Some people refer to them as Pac-Man fonts, and that's common of the era. But Tazmi, the designers of the game, also contributed graphics to a game that was similar to Pole Position in 1982 or 3, another racing game, and its graphics are very similar, and they were actually leaders of their time in these 3D appearing graphics in games. And they're kind of a forgotten engineering firm, but they still exist today. I think their current name is Tazmi, and they still make sticker vending machines and other types of entertaining vending machines in the vending industry. So they're still kind of around doing stuff, but they kind of didn't receive the credit that they were due during this era for a lot of their graphics, because I guess they weren't the main designers and the main name behind all of them. They were just the engineering and the graphics. So anyhow, really cool stuff, and thank you for watching. I just wanted to take a few minutes to show the game while I have it working. It's exciting for me to know that there might be hope to get this game working consistently. And I'll let this play one more time, and we'll hopefully look at another game another day. I noticed a little bit of a graphics glitch when the horses were turning the corner, and I remembered that I have the fans, there's 2 of them in this machine. I have the fans unplugged because they're so noisy, but it's really baking hot in here. So I'm going to turn the top fan on. Okay, well, I am going to shut it down. Thank you again. I look forward to showcasing another unique game after I get this one fixed. Well, I'm back. Isn't that the last lines in the Lord of the Rings books? Doesn't Samwise say, "I'm back," or something like that? Anyway, I am here for what I'm gonna call, I keep saying I'm doing this is my final video or documentation or whatever, but this is my final documentation addendum. I was going to take the machine apart and pull that big giant 2-ton power supply out of it and do some work on it, and I was powering it with these benchtop power supplies and PC power supplies, so I knew I had clean filtered power and stuff like that, and the game was running fine. But Alan at Kalar said something to me where he mentioned that I took a picture of the power supply section on the game board, not to be mistaken with the giant power supply, but the power management section on the game board. And he mentioned, he made note of the little tiny potentiometer that was in that section of the power supply and said how it looked like the system, I think, that Bally or somebody like that used in their power supply system. And I don't know if it had to do with that potentiometer setting a voltage differential or something like that. I'm not quite sure exactly what it did. Maybe I'm making things up in my mind. But anyhow, I put the game, I went to that potentiometer on the board and I sprayed cleaner in it and I swiped it back and forth and then I changed the setting on it a little bit. Maybe I did this actually with the board outside of the machine and running. And as I started moving the potentiometer, boom, the game booted up because it wouldn't run on its own from the power supply within the machine. But as soon as I connected it to the benchtop power supplies, it ran. So I connected it back to the power supply in the machine, and I started messing with that potentiometer, and it started right up. And so I shut it off and restarted it a few times, and it starts right up now. So it just plays absolutely wonderfully. Oh, I actually have 157 credits. I actually won really big a couple times. It sits out here and it runs. I left it on for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 hours. And I'll come over and play it. The two fans, intake and exhaust, they're running really high speed because they're 100-volt fans made in Japan, so it's 100 volts. And we have 120. So they're pretty noisy. And the other night, I had unplugged one of the fans so I could look at the connector, and I forgot to plug it back in. And after an hour or so, when I played the game, the video was glitching and jumping. And I thought, oh no, it's starting to act up again. And then I realized the top exhaust fan wasn't running, so it wasn't exhausting heat out of the top, so that the circuit board that's up here, the circuit boards that are up here, were getting really hot. And so I turned the fan on, and after, I guess, about 5, maybe 10 minutes, it got most of the heat out and it started running fine. Another thing that Alan had told me one time is those fans are very important. I mean, there's so much heat being generated in here. So there we have it. Beautiful running machine, and I couldn't be happier right now. I'm just really excited about this, that it's running now. So it's one of my favorite games to play. It's that classic early 80s look, and the sounds are just atrociously wonderful. So thank you for enduring this 20 minutes of video on this one machine, but who knows, in another 10 or 20 or 30 years or whatever, when somebody else owns this machine and I'm no longer here on this planet to enjoy it, somebody may need to know a little bit about it and may need to get it running if they care enough about it. There aren't a lot of them, so hopefully it just keeps running good for many years to come. That's it. Thank you. Farewell.